Hello, Top Shelf. Welcome back for episode 3 of Roleplay Reels. On this week's podcast, we're featuring a long-term player in Top Shelf. Here since the official launch, let's welcome Nate to the podcast. Nate, how you doing today?
I'm not doing too bad actually. It's a pretty good day here, so I'm happy enough.
Awesome. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, anything you want to share?
So I feel like one thing about me and that I bring into the city, along with my three characters, is my main thing is that I'm Irish. Everybody just loves the Irishness, the accent. I'm pretty sure I've had multiple people come up to me and try and imitate way I say things. Like I remember someone had a conversation with me about how I say pig and that they weren't too impressed with it because it didn't sound like I was saying pig. So yeah, basically, I'm Irish. I'm
Pe-
18,
Peg,
and I
right?
live.
Peg?
Yeah, yep. It was
Yeah,
pig. It was
Peg.
pig.
Yeah.
Cause it was when you were doing your pig arc thing,
Yeah.
and I was like, the pig is coming, and someone was like, hold on a second, you just say the pig is coming. I was like, no. But yeah, no, I'm Irish. I'm 18, and I I I like playing in the city. It's pretty fun. It's nice. Get to
Ha-
meet people you wouldn't normally meet.
hmm How did you get into RP?
All right, so RP. I started off on the same RP server I think you started off on, High Life,
Yeah.
and I joined that because me and Rap Parade were chatting about it. We wanted to get into RP, and I didn't want to do it first because I'm not good at starting new things. But he had started it, and he showed me a bit about it, and I seen it on streams. I was like, you know what, this seems pretty fun because I love GTA. I've actually tried 100% GTA 5 like 6 times, and I've given up halfway through each time. And High Life, it was a fun starter server, but as soon as we moved to Top Shelf, because I played Top Shelf once in beta and then I just couldn't get in again. There was something wrong with my FiveM, and we played Top Shelf. I played Top Shelf once in the beta. I instantly loved it. I remember I was in, I got pulled over by Wanda, and then I fell in love with Wanda and McNutty, and I told Sparky about that actually. I was like, I've met you before. Before I flew into the city during launch, and he goes, "No, you didn't." I was like, "You pulled me over once," and he goes, "No way." So, because we had applied for another server, I can't mind the name of it, but it was a whitelisted one, and I think I logged on once and didn't touch it again.
Was
So I
that
went through the.
was that Twitch RP?
I think it was, yeah, it was.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
it was
Me
Twitch
and you
RP.
joined that one, and I was the only one that ended up playing for maybe a week.
Yeah, you played because I would see it on your streams. I'm like, oh my god, yeah, I'm supposed to go into that. And then I was talking to a rat about it, and I was like, so what are we doing with this RP thing? Because I wanted to keep it all together, and because I was playing it more than I was playing DBD when I first started. And I remember Emerald getting really salty because I wouldn't play DBD with him. I was too busy on RPs. Like, you're turning into a madman. I was like, uh-huh. And now look at him, like. But yeah, so that's how I found Top Shelf, and uh, by far my favorite place. It's such a safe place to just chill. Because even if you're not amazing at RP, they're like super genuine about it. They're like, hey, it's okay. Just take your time. Just do what feels natural, and it's all that matters. Like,
Also, do you have any kind of specific approach to how you RP your characters?
so I suppose a thing about my two of my main characters, Mason and Benji, is we're we do love our family, and we're adopted twin brothers to one of the other characters in the city. So it's like when I want to approach that kind of RP, um, me and Nerdy sometimes talk about we come up with ideas for lore wise, and then sometimes in the spot we just be like, that remember that time when we were kids, and we just go along with it, and it's so natural. Cause I remember when we first started that whole we're siblings kind of thing, somebody came to Nerdy outside the city and goes, "Oh, so what's it like having an adopted Irish brother?" And I was like, "Oh my god." It was so funny because Nerdy told me about it and I died laughing. We were playing DBD and I like threw my mouse because I just couldn't believe that somebody had actually thought it was happening because it just seemed so natural. But for the cop thing, I suppose the cop RPs, like I'm still not amazing at it. It's just I'm a hard ass that was in the army like and had to move to America because of stuff that happened to me in Ireland. Had, so it just depends on which character I'm playing for the approach, I suppose. Cause like Mason's the wild card, he does everything so impulsively. Benji's like the lawyer that's a bit shady sometimes, and O'Connor's just the hard ass that does his own wee thing. So I suppose that's how I approach it. It just really depends on which character and what I'm going for. Cause there's times where people be like, "Oh, Mason doesn't care about anyone," but he would do anything for Ali, like, or any of the people at Burger Shot, you know? And
So,
same for Benji.
mm-hmm. So it sounds like create some deep lore and backstory and relationships, not only between, at least a couple of your characters and other people's characters. How much do you plan that and or not plan
Right.
that? And if you do plan it, do you find that anything ever goes to plan?
So I'm not too sure if you're aware of like the Mason and Barton thing, where there's like a backstory there, and there's like Benji, Mason, and two of Nerdy's characters are all connected. Like the Nerdy's two characters were roommates,
Mm-hmm.
and like I knew that. But one day we were just chatting. I was like, ha, imagine if Benji and Barton had a thing, but Mason had always like had a crush on Barton, and we didn't really plan it out. We just kind of went with it in city, but we kind of like could tell what we were going for as we went along. Cause me and Nerdy were talking about it. Like Mason took Barton hostage, like from Pizza This, took her to Otto's, put on an accent, and took her in the car, took her stuff off her to talk to her about things because they had found something out about Benji and Barton. And I, the only part of it that was planned was the fact that Nerdy had told me Barton would straight up not talk to Mason unless there was a gun at her head. And I was like, oh no, because like I was so scared to do that because I didn't know how it would go. Like pointing a gun at a cop's head because you can't do it when there's not enough cops on because it's like you don't want to take away from people like enjoying the city. So some of it is planned, and most of the time it goes to plan. Like it doesn't go wrong, but sometimes it's not. So then it's just like a curveball because you don't know what you're aiming for. Like I think did you see the thing with uh Mason and McNutty there? How
I
Mason lost his eye.
I did, yes.
Right, so
But if you want to, talk about
you
that
see,
some for others.
you see, you see that. So it was the day I held my Pride event, and I was not planning on it, but seeing McNully come to the Pride event, and then me and like he had took me up to the top of the skull, and we were dancing together. And I was streaming at the time, and I was like, I think I'm gonna confess to McNully about his eye because Mason felt like a lick of guilt because Mason has this mindset where he wants to get out of crime, but he's in a gang. He's not going to get out of crime, but he wants to because he wants to better himself. So I had just that their whole thing with McNulty completely just going off like the book, like not even the hand, even it's just like completely on the spot. Cause see when he had took me out to the lighthouse, I was convinced that was when I was permaing Mason because he had took me to the lighthouse. Nobody knew that I went with McNutty, and he was going on like he was about to murder me. And I was just like, you know what? If this is Mason's end, this is Mason's end. It makes sense because he was confessing for something he felt guilty of that he wasn't even responsible for. But he didn't. McNulty asked him for the names of else was shooting at them,
Hmm.
and Mason was like, "I'm not giving it up. You have me. Deal with it," kind of thing. So as I said, it's like you can either plan it out, which I mainly do with Nerdy. I don't plan it out with anybody else. But the thing with like say Mason and Rose's interactions, Benji and I remember at the start of Top Shelf actually, me and you had some RP going on where Pearl didn't like Benji at all. Like that was completely off the hand, like, because we
Yeah, it
didn't get
still
off the.
doesn't.
It doesn't like.
He still doesn't like Benji.
I mean, not a lot of people like Benji, but he's one of the lawyers. Like,
Exactly. He's
uh,
a lawyer. I don't like
he's a
Pearl
lawyer.
doesn't like lawyers.
I get that, fair enough. But I feel like that'll change when Damien becomes judge. But it's just it completely depends on the situation, I suppose. But the only person I really plan RP with would be Nerdy, and that's very rarely. Most of it's
Hmm.
just impromptu.
Um, Tell us a little bit about your involvement in BG.
Right. So Mason is one of the not higher ups, but like one of the most trusted members. So we go Tony, John, Henry, Fatty, Rose, and Mason. So we I think it was like within 2 3 weeks into working in Burger Shop because I was tired of working at just like one of the NPC jobs, and I worked at Burger Shop, and I don't even know how I joined the gang. I just did. Bert was like, you know what, you're BG now, and it kind of happened like that. And I remember the thing with the rats when Bingo died. I thought that like I was gonna be done with BG, but then I kind of just understood because I know Bert felt really guilty about that. Um, I was just like, it has to happen. So when it comes to BG, everybody just thinks that we're all just like mental. We just want to shoot, crazy, kill. But we do talk about our decisions before we do them. So it's not just one person making all the dumb decisions. We all collectively make the dumb decisions. Like sometimes members of BG get punished. I'm not going to say names, but we do dumb shit. We get punished. It's how it happens. Like we have to have respect because we don't want to just start gang wars out of nowhere. Like, but when Tony and John weren't in the city as much, me and Rose and Henry kind of took over because like some of us were just doing really stupid stuff, so we wanted to like try and just make sure that no wars happened because there was like four members doing stuff, and considering we were like some of us were trying to start stuff with a gang that had 8 members, like we didn't want to go into a shooting war, so that's when me and Rose kind of like took initiative and we had conversations with say the rats and the birds because we didn't want the gang war to start when we knew we didn't have the members for it. Because BG's probably been the longest gang in the city, but I think it's the one with the least amount of members. But we still do well. So one of the higher ups, but not the higher up, if you know what I mean.
Hmm. Do you have? I mean, you kind of talked about your story arc with McNutty and such, and it may be the same answer to this question, but do you have a favorite story arc, whether it's your own or someone else's that you've either been involved with or just simply watched videos of?
Favorite story arc. I think my favorite story arc was. Oh, that's a hard question because there's so many good ones. I honestly would say either the story arc with Barton and Mason when I took her hostage, or uh Mason and McNulty because
Hmm.
it was so amazing the fact that we hadn't planned that at all and it just happened. It was so good for the fact that it was just on the spot, and I've gotten like many compliments off that situation because they're like, "Did you plan that?" And we're like, "No, it was just kind of, ha, gotta confess because I respected him for showing up to my pride event, you know, because like he didn't have to do that.
Hmm.
I respected it, and I felt guilty."
All right. Well, thanks, Nate. I appreciate you coming on here for episode 3.
I appreciate you for having me for episode 3. 3 is a good number for me, you know.
There you
I
go.
love I love the 3, like, so I appreciate it.
Of course. Check out IrishNateTV on Twitch, and be sure to check back next week for another in-depth interview.